dog was in the yard. Oh, hello. You seem to have interrupted me reading this book in an attempt to prove that I can read. Now, I know what you're thinking. That nerdy douche doesn't do anything but read books. Well, the truth couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, I spent the majority of my October staying inside and watching horror movies. I wanted to take a second and share with you some of the movies that I watched and my opinion, because I don't think there's enough people sharing their opinions on pop culture right now. Each day was devoted to a different horror movie. I didn't really pick a genre, I wasn't really too attached to a certain motif. I just basically scrolled through whatever select streaming service that I thought was best and would merit the promotion, and decided that if a thumbnail looked spooky enough, I'd give it a shot. Now, I am a creature of habit, so this did include me watching the same movies that I've probably watched 100 times. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about all the movies, because right now there's 27, and I don't even think that Ritalin would give people enough attention span to watch all that. So I'm basically going to be diving into the ones that I thought were super interesting, sort of diving in. And then some of them just, yay or nay. Would I watch it again? Should you watch it? That kind of thing. So the first movie I watched was a little caper called Body Bags. This was a movie I had never seen before and previously skipped over because it didn't look spooky enough. I was very pleasantly surprised. It's an anthology movie. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's basically a bunch of short stories with a bunch of guest directors, and it had all kinds of cameos from famous horror types. There was Sam Raimi. There was the other guy who's in all the Halloweens. There's, the guy that played the super Nazi in American History X. He was in there. 3 stories. One was a slasher, one was about a guy with creepy hair, and the last one was
something terrifying.
Something else. Anyway, John Carpenter plays the host, sort of the MC, if you will, the moderator, and he puts on this character of a guy working in a morgue, and he's like really macabre, and you can tell he just had a blast filming it, and his joy leaks through in every single line he delivers. Basically, if you're gonna watch this, he's the reason to watch it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Body Bags. The next movie I watched was From Beyond. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Reanimator, a lot of people think of this as like the sister movie to Reanimator. It was also directed by David Cronenberg, originally written or based off of a story by that horrible Nazi H.P. Lovecraft. He wasn't really a Nazi, but he was a white supremacist, so fuck that guy. But he does write an interesting story. This one happened to be an expose on the pineal gland. I don't really know what that is either, but apparently when it gets affected by altered dimensions, a penis grows out of your forehead and eats people. So that was really good. It was starring, and he was also in Reanimator and did an amazing job in both. Kind of gruesome. May not be for everyone.
Such easy prey.
It was okay. A little slow at times, but all in all, yeah, it was okay. Then I watched Halloween. I was going to save this one for Halloween, but I decided to watch Halloween a little bit early because I wanted to watch Halloween. Now, Halloween is the first slasher directed by John Carpenter. No, I don't mean the first slasher directed by John Carpenter. It is the first slasher, period, directed by John Carpenter. And that's actually not true either. A lot of people would say like Psycho or some Italian movie that I've never heard of might be the first. But when you think of modern slasher movie rules, Halloween is the one that set the standard. Great movie. Not as exciting as I think most people will expect, especially because its successors are so much more violent and so much more just bam, 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 bam. Basically, that's why Friday the 13th took off the way it did, is it was Halloween with a much higher kill count and a lot less plot. Jamie Lee Curtis is outstanding in this movie, and I don't need to say much more because, frankly, there's so many more talented people who have talked about this movie than me that I'm just going to leave it up to them.
I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. This man, he's not human.
Then I watched Halloween 2. That's the sequel to Halloween 1. not directed by John Carpenter. Also good. I heard that John Carpenter didn't really want to make Michael Myers movies over and over and over again, which I'll talk about later when I talk about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. But yeah, Halloween 2, it's like Halloween 1. It's in a hospital. Woman gets a finger shoved up her butt, I think. I think I actually liked it better than Halloween 1. Anyway, then just to mix things up, the next night I watched Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Now, I said before that Halloween 3, a lot of people think really shit the bed because it went away from the Michael Myers theme. I don't necessarily think that that was a bad idea, but a lot of people were really happy when Michael Myers came back. And boy, did he come back. This movie suffered a little bit from the protagonist was a kid, and I just really wasn't into it. But Halloween 4, yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I mean, 4 movies in, you kind of know what you're getting, unless you're getting Season of the Witch. Then in that case, you don't know what you're getting, but it's not what you got. You got more Michael Myers. In fact, it's called The Return of Michael Myers. Tells you everything you need to know. The next one wasn't really a movie and wasn't really a horror. It was The Haunting of Bly Manor. Now, when I say it wasn't really a horror, yes, there was like spooky stuff. There was ghosts. There was a big house. There was kids that were spooky. But I would say it's more of a romance. Let me put it this way. Hill House was great. Bly Manor was good. The acting was phenomenal. It looked gorgeous. But here, let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Here, let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Here, let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Here, let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Here, let me show you what Bly Manor was like. Let me show you what Bly Manor was. Show you what Bly Manor was like. For any of you who have actually watched the show, you will completely get that joke. For those of you who watched Bly Manor, you will completely get that joke. The next movie I watched was a Shudder exclusive called Scare Me. It was really cool, really unique. I've never seen anything like it. I was about 2 people who are stuck in a cabin and there's a storm out and they tell each other scary stories. And that's it. It doesn't cut away. It doesn't do dramatic reenactments. It is literally just 2 people telling each other stories, but they affect it with some really cool sound effects and some minor editing tricks. But for the most part, it's cut and dry, scary stories in a cabin. The actress's name is... And the actor is... And they feed off of each other really well, really great chemistry. I would suggest watching it. I mean, especially you got nothing else to do. You're stuck in a cabin, it's snowing. Watch the movie about the people telling the scary stories. Why not? Then I watched another movie that took me by surprise. It was called The Mortuary Collection. It starred the prison guard from Shawshank Redemption, who I think is really underrated and was phenomenal. The framing device was the Shawshank prison guard plays a mortician, and he takes on an apprentice and tells her a bunch of scaries, and we get to see the scaries acted out in an anthology. And yeah, I thought it was really great, a lot of fun, exactly what I was looking for in a Halloween season movie. So definitely would recommend that. Next, I watched House of a Thousand Corpses. That is a movie I've seen probably 100 times or 1,000 times, and it's good. It's kind of brutal. It's not everyone's taste. If you're not into dudes wearing other dudes' faces, maybe skip this one. Or people turning into fish, or people eating cereal really gross. Yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses. Watch it. If you like, if you can handle some gore, some violence. It's Rob Zombie. Not all his movies are, perfect, but I wish him the best. I think he's talented. Then it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Again, like Halloween, this was a pace car for a lot of other movies that came after it. Not nearly as brutal as its reputation. But still really atmospheric, really creepy. It's a horror classic. Again, I there's not really much I can say about it that hasn't been said already. I watched the remake made in like 2004, and that scared the piss out of me. This one, I guess I was expecting something like that, but, you know, didn't get it, but still, great movie. Then I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is a piece of shit. Sorry, but it is. I'm sorry if you love that movie. The guy who plays Otis B. Driftwood in House of a Thousand Corpses, he's in it. He's fun to watch, but yeah, that movie, it just rambles. The ending's cool with the lady in the tower with the chainsaw reenacting the first one, but honestly, it's kind of a piece of shit. Then I watched, I feel like that's how this list is going. Then I went to the store. Then I went to the museum. Then my mom made me cookies. Then I watched Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, starring Robert De Niro. Very dated, very 90s. Reminded me a lot of Bram Stoker's Dracula, starring Gary Oldman, and the best performance by Keanu Reeves to date, which I also watched. Anyway, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, kind of boring, kind of dated. Can we make another Frankenstein movie? Hey, can you make another Frankenstein movie? Thanks. No, it was fine. It was just kind of boring. Yeah. Sorry, I was talking to my dog. Speaking of Frankenstein, the next thing I watched was Dracula, the Netflix special, and I fucking loved it. This was my second time watching it, and Klaus Bang, I think I'm pronouncing that right, is the best Dracula to ever be on screen. That guy has more charisma in his left fang than most actors have in their entire body. I can't overstate enough how perfect he was as Dracula. He was so much fun to watch. If it was just him being Dracula the entire runtime, I would be stoked. That said, the ending kind of shits the bed. It's not terrible, but it's not great. But worth a watch. Just watch it, because it's great. And it's a lot better than that piece of crap movie from the 90s that everyone's going to defend because they grew up on it. But I just watched that, and if you haven't seen it in a while, maybe watch that old movie again. I think you're going to find that it's kind of shitty. Yeah, the Netflix Dracula. Great. Great. I'm trying to film, Floki. It's like my dog doesn't care that I'm trying to do something, because he's never worked a fucking day in his life. Then I watched The Changeling. It's a movie about a ghost. It's good. That's it. I watched The Changeling. You know, that's all you need to know. Would I watch it again? Probably not. But, you know, not because it was bad. Speaking of bad, then I watched The Haunting. That movie didn't age well. I will say it's the most Owen Wilson-y Owen Wilson movie.
That's a shit attitude right there.
Starring Owen Wilson and
Catherine Zeta-Jones, she deeps beneath the lasers. Ooh.
Was in it. But all in all, even with that amazing selling point, what the fuck was that movie? The scariest thing that happens is some statues look at a lady and she gets really stressed out about it. And I'm not really sure how the ending worked. I was folding socks, so I don't really know how she defeated the ghosts. She just kind of did. I didn't even know it was the same thing as The Haunting of Hill House. Watch that instead. Why would you watch The Haunting? It's a piece of shit. It was also during that era in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, whatever, where they just discovered CGI and they thought that they could wow people with the special effects, but they weren't quite good enough to actually wow anybody, so it just comes off as kind of clumsy and lazy. House? Apparently I watched a movie called House. I don't even remember it. I don't even know if it was a movie. I just wrote House on my list. Could have been referring to something else. Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. Motel Hell was next. What to say about Motel Hell? Cool concept. You know what? I'll give it that. Never before or since have I seen a movie like Motel Hell, and I'm pretty convinced that Motel Hell is the only movie that could have pulled off what Motel Hell was trying to pull off. Very insightful, I'm sure. The star of the movie was... And I heard or read somewhere that this was his last movie. But it was great. I mean, it's a schlocky horror movie about people eating people. People eating people. But the heads in the dirt thing was cool as shit. It's just one of those movies that horror movie fans have seen. Yeah, Motel Hell. Fucking great. The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind Lee, I think, was about a haunted house. or a house full of antiques with a werewolf, or a guy with mommy issues. I don't know, skip it. Don't watch it. Or watch it. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but I'm not going to watch it again. On the topic of houses, haunted and otherwise built, the house that Jack built was a Lars von Trier movie. That movie fucks. Matt Dillon, so good. Where the hell has he been this whole time? Last time I think I saw him in was Something About Mary, but he is outstanding in this movie. It is not your typical horror movie. It's very brutal. There is child murder. There is allusions to sexual assault. It is Lars von Trier, so don't expect everything to be just neat and, packaged up nicely. It gave me a really disturbed feeling that at the same time I wanted to watch it again. The house that Jack built, Matt Dillon, get this guy more fucking pictures. He is awesome, and the movie was great. I don't know if I'll watch it again because it's pretty disturbing, but you should definitely watch it because you need to be more disturbed. While we're on this topic of movies that caught me off guard, this is kind of an old one that I remember seeing the trailer for and thinking the trailer looked amazing. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about 30 Days of Night. The trailer looked amazing. It had the Muse in the trailer, the song that was in there. The vampire, it's about vampires, not the romantic glittery kind, but like the sharp. The head vampire was also in Yellowstone. His name is... and he is fucking great. Josh Hartnett. Where did you go, Josh Hartnett? I haven't stopped thinking about that movie since I watched it. I'm probably going to watch it again before Halloween. It was that good. But it's the kind of movie where if somebody said, I didn't really like it, I wouldn't think they were an idiot. But it just really hit with me. 30 Days of Night. 2 thumbs up. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Josh Hartnett. Then I watched The Shining. There's nothing I can say about The Shining that hasn't been said already. Except when I watched it, I was in a cabin that was near the... I'm drawing a blank on the name. The Sherman Hotel? Anyway, the hotel that The Shining was filmed at, the outside, and there was a forest fire all around us. And I'm not exaggerating. There was actually literally a forest fire. We had to evacuate. But before I did, I got to watch The Shining in a cabin next to the hotel that was supposed to be the hotel overlook, and that made it just a unique experience. It's fucking Shining. You've seen The Shining. If you haven't, what the hell's wrong with you? Go see The Shining. Trick or Treat is the next movie I watched, and I'm really bummed that there isn't a second Trick or Treat. That movie is great. It's another anthology, probably the most Halloween-y movie that I can think of. It's more Halloween-y than Halloween, and that's pretty Halloween-y. Trick or Treat. Definitely would suggest it. There's a great little character that they introduced that I think could be a horror culture icon if they made more movies. Normally I'm not a big fan of recycling the same thing over and over again, but he's this little guy named Sam, and he's half adorable, half terrifying. Sam is short for Sam Hain, which is the spirit of Halloween, and this movie is exactly that. It is the spirit of Halloween. Watch it, tell your friends. It's also a horror comedy, so this is a great movie for people who aren't super into horror or are perhaps just breaking into the genre. Trick or Treat, not to be confused with Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is great for those of you who are new to the horror game. Next we have Haunt. Haunt is a movie about a haunted house. That's a bad way to put it. Haunt is a movie about a haunted house. Haunt is a movie about a house that is designed... No. House is a movie about, House is a movie about warehouse that is converted into a haunted house. Like the fucking haunted houses you go to as a kid. But it's like really extreme. College kids go to it. All is not what it seems as the proprietors of this haunted house proceed to fuck them up. Now, this is a pretty played out premise at this point, but this movie nails it. Some friends of mine have suggested other movies with a similar motif. I don't know how they could do it better than Haunt. There's a moment in the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it like an asshole, but there's a moment in the movie where something is revealed, and I remember the first time I saw it just thinking, oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen that before. That's pretty clever. Good on you, movie. Way to go. Yeah, another Shudder exclusive. Shudder killing it right now. Shudder, good. Shudder do thing good. Shudder make movie good. Haunt is what it's called. It's got a picture of a clown mask. There you go. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Not the movie you thought it was when you were a kid. Not as good as you probably remember. Trust me, I just watched it. It's pretty dated. It's kind of off the wall, and I think Frank Ford Coppola might have been smoking crack when he made it. Keanu Reeves trying to do a bloody British accent. Almost as bad as Winona Ryder trying to do a bloody British accent. And they both, they're pretty wooden. But Gary Oldman's phenomenal as the titular Count Dracula, and Anthony Hopkins kills it as Van Helsing. And you know what? It's zany. Maybe I'd watch it again. I don't know. Would I watch it again? I don't know. It's zany. Maybe if I'm in a mood. But don't go into it for the scares, because it's not very scary. I do like the practical effects. A lot of them are pretty funny and don't really work, but way better than I could ever pull off. And when Gary Oldman turns into a giant beast, Batman, not Batman, but a man-bat, I was amused. It was fun. It was fun. It's just, I think that movie probably is put on a pedestal by a lot of folks who saw it when they were kids. Might not be remembering the movie that it actually is, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm kind of talking myself into thinking it was a good movie. Yeah, it was a good movie. Francis Ford Coppola, Gary Oldman. Just get over the Keanu Reeves accent thing. I did not, because it almost ruined the movie for me. But yeah, Bram Stoker's Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Oh, it's also the movie where that quintessential, well, maybe that was Bela Lugosi. The Dracula, the voice, it sounds like it is. Also might have been spoiled by all the great spoofs I've seen, including, but not limited to, Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, where Mr. Burns plays Count Dracula. It's like one of my favorite Treehouse of Horrors, but they zinged it so well. There's a lot of things that made it hard to take seriously. That's all. I decided to watch Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I mentioned this earlier. It fucking sucks. Masks kill people. There's scary dudes with gloves on. It stars who's great in everything, but he's better in the fog. What the hell were they thinking? I think they could have done something interesting with every Halloween being a different premise and not doing Michael Myers over and over again. But they blew it with Season of the Witch. Spooky masks aren't fucking spooky. What are you trying to do? Who do you think we are? I'm over it. The House of the Witch? I don't remember it. I think I don't remember it because the witch was CGI and the acting was really stiff and not worth watching, certainly not worth paying for. House of the Witch, yeah, whatever. So the last movie I watched, and I watched this today, and I always save it towards the end because it's one of my favorite movies that I actually just sort of recently discovered, Return of the Living Dead. Swoon. That movie has everything. It has amazing performances, and Lena Quigley, who I remember because she is naked for 90% of the movie. Leanna Quigley. Yeah. It's a punk movie, which is really cringy to say, but this movie isn't just kids dressed like punks. The whole ethos of it, the whole message behind it is very much the 80s punk rock and irreverence and just great. The humor is subdued, but also over the top. I am just a huge fan of this movie, Return of the Living Dead. Honestly, it rivals Night of the Living Dead. I have 3 nights left of till Halloween, and I think it's going to be Night of the Living Dead and then 2 Dealer's Choice. I don't know. I'm going to try to find something new, but I wanted to get this finished and edited and everything before Halloween, because once Halloween ends, Halloween stuff just feels a little sad. It's like that pumpkin on your porch that's going to be rotting in like 4 days. So yeah, that was my Halloween Viewathon. I just wanted to share this with you. If you guys were looking for some scary movies to watch, hopefully gave you some ideas. It certainly beats reading, so there's that. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will try to make more review videos because it's fun to hear my own voice. So stick around and have a great Halloween. Don't go out. There's a plague, a pandemic, so maybe stay home, watch one of these fine movies. Watch Haunt or watch Return of the Living Dead or, watch Season of the Witch. Just don't go out to a party because, like, we're all tired of this, and that's all.
It's all over everything! Stupid asshole! Watch your tongue, boy, if you like this job! Like this job!